So these are the pupusas, which are a El Salvadoran dish. The best way to describe it is kind of like a flat tamale, but I think they're quite a bit better than tamales. So it's like a stuffed, thick corn tortilla. Yeah, they're great. I'm really excited. I just found this place randomly. It's just a little food cart right off of the Broadway Street here in Idaho Falls. I drove past it a couple weeks ago and wanted to check it out. So here we go. Hello friends, family, total strangers. Tonight's video is going to be on healthcare part 2, Thailand. So before we get into this, just to reiterate, this is not about the politics of healthcare. No political comments, please. And again, controversial subject, so please keep your hatred in the comments to a minimum. And yeah, and also I should say that I am not really suggesting this as a replacement to health insurance. I want health insurance, and I think I'm going to bite the bullet and sign up for it this enrollment period coming up, so probably November. Yeah, I mean, there's just too much. I need health insurance. I think it's really good to have health insurance. But even if you have health insurance, what I'm talking about is still really useful, because odds are I'm not going to be able to afford good health insurance. And even when I had a job, I had bad health insurance with a bad deductible. And yeah, so this video is just about ways to get around expensive procedures, and Thailand is a great option for that. They have really good medical care in Thailand. They have a whole medical tourism industry, and it's really affordable. I had 2 medical experiences in Thailand while I was there, and I'll get to those later in the video. But for me, I think the perfect place is Chiang Mai to get anything done. Bangkok, the town is more expensive, the hospitals are more expensive, everything's more expensive in Bangkok. If you just go up north to Chiang Mai, it's a great city, it's really cheap, and really affordable, and so is the medical care. And it's unlike maybe some of the smaller cities in Thailand, the medical care is still really good there. You know, it's probably fine in the smaller cities, but the smaller you get, the smaller the city you get, probably the more sketchy those hospitals are going to get. And I actually had a medical experience in one of those sketchy hospitals, but we'll get to that. So there's 2 types of hospitals, really. There's the government hospitals, and then there's the private hospitals, the tourist hospitals. You can go to either. There's definitely a difference as far as speed. The speed and just to give 2 examples, in Chiang Mai, McCormick Hospital is a government hospital, and Chiang Mai Ram is a private hospital. And speed is the main difference. Like, Chiang Mai Ram is quite a bit more expensive, though. It's at least double of what McCormick is going to be, at least. But it's still a lot cheaper than America. So I had 2 experiences, one in Chiang Mai Ram. So I went in for, I had a rash all over me. And as it turns out, when I was in Bali in Malaysia, I broke out in a heat rash. I had eczema as a kid, and it broke out all over me. And so I went into Chiang Mai Ram to deal with it. And that's the private hospital. So you walk in the door, and it's crazy. It's you walk in the door, somebody greets you, they get you lined up, they put me in a golf cart and took me over to a different area for the dermatologist. I filled out a little paperwork. I saw the dermatologist, got a prescription for 2 creams and 3 pills, and they golf carted me back to the main hospital entrance. And from walking in the door to walking out, it took 45 minutes, and I saw a dermatologist. So really, really fast and efficient. And with prescriptions, seeing the dermatologist, everything, it was $50 US. So $50 US. Yeah, so keeping in mind that was 45 minutes with no appointment, just walking in the door. And yeah, so that's great. My other medical experience while I was in Thailand was not in Chiang Mai. It was in a smaller city, a smaller hospital, and it was in a government hospital. It was in Mae Sot, which is on the Myanmar border. And that was a very different experience. But still overall pretty positive. So I was getting ready to leave that morning, packed up all my stuff, was pulling on my pants, and my back went out. Just boom, dropped me right onto my bed in my motel room. My back was out. And it was horrible. It hurt a ton, like I couldn't move. I ended up getting to a point where I could grab a chair and use it as a walker, and I put some water in a bag and put it in the freezer and until I could ice down my back and make it down the stairs. So I make it down the stairs, call have the hotel front desk call a cab for me, and so a cab takes me to the hospital. So I get to the hospital. This is a government hospital. They put me in a wheelchair, take me in, and yeah, I mean, I couldn't hardly move. It was terrible. And so this was a very different experience. There was no white faces there. This was all Thai people, or probably some people from Myanmar as well. And it definitely took longer, and it was a slower process, but still, it was an emergency room visit. So I went to the emergency room, and all said and done, it was about 2.5 hours. It was about 2.5 hours at the hospital. So in that time, I had to fill out the paperwork. The English, unlike the Chiang Mai Ram, where I was greeted in English right off the bat with somebody who spoke perfect English, and this was very different. This was a very authentic Thai experience. There was broken English. We were able to communicate more or less what was going on. I got to see a doctor. At McCormick Hospital in Chiang Mai, the government hospital, you're going to have probably a lot more English spoken because they probably deal with English speakers a lot more. But here, not so much. But the doctor was able to basically communicate what was going on. I think it was back spasms of some kind, some sort of severe muscle spasms. So the doctor, gave a prescription for what needed to be done, and they gave it to me, and then they wheeled me over to that section, and I had to wait in line, and then I got a local injection in my back, so an anesthetic in my back. So I got an injection, I got some muscle relaxants, and then some non-narcotic painkillers like ibuprofen, ibuprofen, something like that. And so an injection plus 2 or 3 pills, emergency room visit. And at this point I was a little stressed out because I was getting tight on cash, and I got my bill, and it was 169 baht, which is, at the exchange rate at the time, was $4.85. $4.85. So this is last February, so this isn't that long ago. For an emergency room visit with a local injection, you know, an anesthetic injected into my back, and then muscle relaxants, painkillers, $4.85. The cab ride was about the same. So yeah, definitely not as fast and efficient as the tourist hospital, not as convenient because of the levels of English spoken. But still, I got good medical care. It you know, cleared up my problem, and I was able to take a bus the next day. However, I couldn't get a cab back. I couldn't communicate enough to be able to order a cab to get back to the hotel. And so I ended up having to take a motorcycle taxi after throwing up my back to the hotel. And it was funny. And I've only ridden on the back of a motorcycle once. Like, I am not a motorcycle rider, so that was a funny experience. But yeah, so those are my two Thai medical experiences. So just to give you like the idea of like some major procedures that you might want to get done over there. If you need a colonoscopy, if you're in your over 50, as a male or female, you should be getting a colonoscopy. I think the recommendation is once every 10 years. Unless you have high risk for it, and I think I do. My brother has, his doctor told him that if he had a brother that was over 40, he should probably get a colonoscopy, because I guess he had some polyps, and it takes a few years for polyps to develop into cancer. But so I need to get a colonoscopy, so I'm going to try to probably do it sometime here in the fall. A colonoscopy in America, I priced it out on the internet. It sounds like it averages about $3,000. So $3,000 if you don't have insurance. And if you do have insurance, you know, a lot of the insurance these days is bad. Like, even if I get insurance, my deductible is probably going to be at least $2,000, if not $3,000. So in Thailand, it varies depending on whether it's a government hospital or a private hospital. But I think the private hospitals range somewhere between $500 and $800 for a colonoscopy, and the government hospitals are more like maybe a couple $100, like $100 or $200, which is a huge difference. And especially if you're a van dweller, where you're not paying rent and you're not paying all these things, and you just come to Thailand for a month, the expenses that you're paying in Thailand are the same type of ones that you would pay back home. You know, your food, instead of gas, you have transportation around. So really, all you're paying for is the price of your plane ticket and the price of the procedure that you're getting done. So it's a really good option for van dwellers. And you know, various procedures, you know, range in prices. But if you go to a hospital here in America, find out that you need to have some major surgery, but it's not something you have to have tomorrow, you know, flying to Thailand for it, you know, it might be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in America. That same procedure could be like $1,000 in Thailand. And, you know, it's something you would want to research before you fly over, obviously. But just as an example, I came across this woman. I think she was in some sort of Christian ministry in Thailand, and this just happened like a year and a half ago. She had emergency appendectomy surgery, and she did a YouTube video on it. And an emergency appendectomy is something like $33,000 in America by average. I looked it up again on the internet, for, you know, hospital stay and everything. $33,000 if you have to have an emergency appendectomy. And even if you have insurance, you know, say you have a $2,000 deductible and then your insurance only covers 80%, that's $12,000. That's $12,000 if you get that procedure done in America. Now, obviously, if you are diagnosed with appendicitis, you have to have your surgery immediately. You can't fly to Thailand. But just to compare the difference in prices, hers was $783, including, that's everything, including 3 nights in the hospital. And I think this was at Chiang Mai Ram, so the expensive tourist hospital. $783. So it's a really good option for things that you don't have to have done immediately. Fly to Thailand and get them done. Various tests, you can fly to Thailand and get them done. But that story also kind of tells you the importance of having insurance, because there's a huge difference between $33,000 and $12,000. $33,000, that's a lot of money. That's going to take me a long time to pay off if I have to have an emergency appendectomy here in America. And that's why I think it is really important to have insurance. But I think of Thailand as a gateway until I can get insurance, as an option to deal with some things. And I also feel after I get insurance is a way to get around a really high deductible. You can find plane tickets, especially from somewhere like San Francisco. You can find round trip plane tickets to Thailand for $500, $600. I've definitely found those easily on Kayak. I just looked up a couple days ago for a flight in like 3 weeks, and I think it was a bit more expensive than that because of the time of year, but it was still only like $600 or $700 for a round trip ticket to Thailand. So there you go. That's my Thailand story. And then for staying there, it's so cheap in Thailand. It's so cheap. I stayed at a hostel. I personally prefer hostels to hotels. Guest houses are okay too, but both of them are way better than hotels. Just because you have more interaction with other travelers, and you end up hanging out with people, doing things with them, and I like staying at hostels. So the hostel I stayed at in Chiang Mai was $2.82 a night. So it's like $90 a month if you were to stay in a hostel. You could stay there for $90 a month, which is, nothing. There are other hostels, and it depends on the time of year and how far you book in advance, but $5. You could probably get a guest room, your own private room in a guest house somewhere for $10 a night, which is $300 a month. Or you could rent a little room by the month, for anywhere from $50 a month to $500 a month, just depending on what you want out of that room and how close you want to be to the center. So Chiang Mai is a really affordable place to vacation. The food there is amazing. I mostly ate street food. You can definitely just eat, street food and market food for about $5 a day. Or if you want to be a bit more extravagant, you can go $10 a day. If you're eating Western food, those prices are going to go up because Thais don't eat it, so it's tourist food and prices go way up. But this video is running really long, so I better cut this off. So that's that. I had an experience when I had insurance in America. It turns out I pulled a muscle right over my appendix. And so I went to the clinic, and they sent me to the hospital to get an MRI or CAT scan, or whichever one. I always mix them up. To get one of those, an MRI or a CAT scan. And with my insurance, my deductible was like $2,000, and then, they covered 80% or something after that. and maybe my deductible was even a little higher, but all said and done, I ended up paying $2,400 out of pocket. $2,400 out of pocket for that scan, which showed nothing. It turns out I just had a muscle pull. And I could have got that same scan. I looked this up at the time. I could have got that same scan in Thailand for $100. So I could have flown to Thailand, got the scan, stayed there for a month, vacationed, ate all I want, and it would have been cheaper than the deductible on my insurance. I think the 1 month that I was in Thailand, and this was traveling around and not just staying in Chiang Mai, I spent about $700 in 3.5 weeks. So it's not an expensive place to travel and live. So yeah, really good option for nomads. And I know really for anybody with bad insurance or no insurance, but especially for nomads. This video has been kind of rambling, I'm sorry. But this is a big subject, and there's a lot of information to cover, and I probably didn't even cover everything that I needed to there. So if you have any questions, throw them down in comments, and I could possibly even do another video in the future to clear things up on that. So just a quick note, some people mentioned Mexico in the comments, which is true. Mexico is great for dental and prescriptions and things like that. Not so much for medical. Thailand's reputation for medical care is much better. But Mexico is great for dental and for prescriptions, and specifically algodones, which is really easy to get into. You can park at the border and then just walk in, and you don't have to deal with taking your car over there, your van, and you can just walk across the border and get that stuff done. Dental in Thailand I've looked into it, is fairly similar in prices to Mexico, so you might as well just get it done in Mexico rather than fly across to Thailand for it. But if you're going for medical anyway in Thailand, you can get dental done there. So I had a really fun weekend with, it was my friend's birthday, and she was visiting from out of town, and had a big camp out, and a lot of my good friends, and several of them are musicians, so I recorded some of the music around the campfire. So yeah, let's check that out.
Throw that log!
What is that? In your face, Riley. You've got to try and find your home. We'll see where this goes. So long, Marianne. It's time that we began to laugh and cry and cry and laugh about it all again. I gotta hurry on back to my hotel room, where I got me a date with a pretty little girl from Greece. She promised she'd be there with Don't you push.
So that's my video. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Thanks for watching.